Howdy, folks. Well, Saturday is all out, and Dynamite was last night. I'd say was a hell of a way. Hell of a way to end Dynamite last night. The last thing we saw before All Out was one hell of a hook. As if Hangman Adds and Swerve Strickland need more substance to this feud, and leading into their steel cage match Saturday at All Out, which hopefully is the main event. I mean, there's nothing better on that show than that. So I hope that's the main event, and it should main event. But besides the bookends, I must say, about Dynamite last night, wasn't a lot of great. I mean, we started out the show with MJF and Daniel Garcia, and then concluded with the Hangman Adds drinking whatever he was drinking as Swerve Strickland's childhood home burns right behind him. I'm not sure what to say much better than the bookends bring in the two of the biggest and most feud matches on the show, definitely for Chicago. But yeah, in the middle of the show was not great, I must say. I mean, we did have a very good match with Fletcher and Kazuchika Okada, but aside from that, not a lot. But nonetheless, we'll go over Dynamite from last night as we pivot into Saturday's Chicago event at All Out, which should be fun. And you know, we do have to say, because at first, you know, last week we got 4 very story level matches, and then last night we got a few matches that were patched together, because unfortunately that's what happens when you have a pay-per-view that's 2 weeks after the biggest show for AEW and All In. Then you pivot to All Out. Now, some people are obviously down about, you know, some of the matches on All Out, and righteously so. But nonetheless, Grand Slam, you know, after All Out in a couple days, we'll be in the rearview mirror, and then right pivot to Grand Slam in a few weeks, which I believe 3 weeks, and then you can start building towards Wrestle Dream, and then giving proper builds. But nonetheless, I did like some of the stuff from Dynamite last night, and we kind of figured. So first, we gotta talk about what happened before. So Swerve Strickland, which obviously pivoted into the closing angle of Dynamite. So, yesterday, there was a video posted, a heartfelt video posted by Swerve and AEW's team, talking about, well, he and Nyla decided after their contract extension, particularly Swerve's contract extension he signed at Wembley, he decided to purchase his childhood home. Now, they talked about, they were in front of the house talking about hardships and hard times, being in that building, and, mentioned he was an Army kid, grew up taken away from his home, them being evicted, and so on and so forth. Talked about the tree that he used to climb, and so forth. It was a heartfelt, video. Now, still got years, but I will say that I would not want to, although I do have plenty of good memories in my childhood home, I don't know if I would want to purchase it. That's me. So then right after you watch the video, it's a great moment, and then it's like before Dynamite, and then it occurs in the back of your head, and then you see comments of like, Hangman has stated on Collision that his purpose is to burn Swerve's world to the ground. And you think about it, well, what really kick-started this feud and got real emotion was last year. Swerve went to Hangman's home. And then going into the closing sequence of last night, which we gotta talk about first because that was the best thing on the show. So, they were out for a contract signing, and in your mind was like, if Swerve comes out first, then it's obvious. And Tony Schiavone was in the ring. Swerve and Nana came out. There was a table. Tony Schiavone introduced Hangman a number of times, but he did not appear. So, all of a sudden we see Hangman appear on the big screen. And he's shown going inside the residence of Swerve's childhood home. And you can hear as he talking about Swerve and talking about Swerve's family, you can hear Hangman pour gasoline. And then once he's finished, so after we hear the noises of the gasoline, then we get Swerve irate in the ring. He's throwing furniture and whatnot. He's irate, rightfully so. So Hangman then sits on a sofa and lights a match, and you can tell he was a bit ways away from the premises as he throws the match on the ground, and then just like that, Swerve's childhood home is engulfed in flames, and Swerve is upset, he's crying, but he's also very angry. And it just adds. Hangman, again, his heel run since returning has been second to none. And this just adds more quotes. Pun intended, fuel to the fire of this feud. And you wonder, Saturday may be the last of their matches, their current feud, but it just feels like they're going to revisit this again sometime down the line. I mean, honestly, that's just the vibe they give off. And it's great to see. Just that shot of Hangman on the sofa as he's taking a drink while the premises behind him is engulfed in flames. I mean, that's just a wild, wild shot. But yeah, the steel cage match rightfully should be the main event. It is the main attraction of the show. With how the show ended last night, I think a lot of people would be deeply, deeply disappointed if that match does not go on last. Daniel Garcia and MJF, as I mentioned, they opened the show and did well of getting some progression in this feud, in this story. As we know, it seems likely, if Daniel Garcia hasn't signed the extension, it seems likely with him appearing All In and as of late, the last few weeks, that he's likely to re-sign. He's pretty likely. So, we'll see. But yeah, I know people are souring on this match and that they say it's a downgrade for MJF, and I get that, when you're coming off that huge 2-match program with Will Ospreay, and then you cut to this. But there's substance and there's story coming into this match, and it probably won't be the last one, as we saw MJF try to ruin Daniel Garcia's career in the summer, but Daniel Garcia has returned, and we've seen a more serious side. I mean, you can just tell with the Titantron. It's no longer that, those rainbow-ish colors and the hologram of him dancing. It's back to darker colors, and it's still the same thing, but you can tell Daniel Garcia means business. And He's certainly been more serious the last couple weeks. He cut a fire promo last week. He cut a swell promo last night as MJF was not in the skybox, but he was up in an area closed off with security as Daniel Garcia was incensed, wanted to handle business Wednesday, but it did not go how he envisioned, as he fought off some rookie security, and we see him get wiped out with a wine bottle by MJF, as MJF takes a sip of wine, sits down to Daniel Garcia as he's busted open, and he says, quote, in order for every man, you have to go through hell to get through paradise. And he said on Saturday that, Daniel Garcia, I'm going to send you straight to paradise. So, again, people souring about this match. It's certainly an intriguing match on the show. Because, again, Daniel Garcia is one of their... That's the thing. MJF is only 27, but he's known or 28 rather. Either way, late 20s. He's a known commodity in AEW. Former world champion. But Daniel Garcia, he's in his 20s. He's so in a spot on the card that they're trying to elevate him. And they're certainly trying to use MJF to help elevate Daniel Garcia up assassin and try to improve him. We'll see how Daniel Garcia steps up to the plate. But maybe a good match, sleeper match, certainly at All Out. We'll see. And then we had Okada and Kyle Fletcher. Kyle Fletcher, thing to watch out for. So, now for Okada, he's the Continental champion. Definitely one of the matches where people could say, well, it's thrown together. Well, they're having a fatal four-way for the Continental Crown or Championship at All Out, with Okada defending against the winners of 3 qualifying matches from Collision tomorrow night. Which the match will be Takeshita versus Mortals, Lance Archer versus Mark Briscoe. Always frustrates me when you see a Lance Archer match should not frustrate me. But anyone who knows me or seeing the podcast knows that love Lance Archer and wish there's one guy certainly on the main roster or AEW you certainly wish that was in a better place on the card or would be featured more in a better way, it'd be Lance Archer. But even if he beats Mark Briscoe, he's not going to win. on Saturday. So they barely feature him anymore. So yeah. And then we got Orange Cassidy for Brian Keith. So it seems likely it's going to be Okada, Orange Cassidy, Mark Briscoe, and Takeshita. Now the interesting thing was after this match we got a bit of words thrown at Okada by Takeshita. And we know that's been a match that people have had their eye on since Okada signed with AEW. And, Takeshita, he was a part of the G1, had a heck of a showing, but now he's back on AEW, should definitely get more shine, and certainly build towards this match, for the future. Maybe Wrestle Dream, maybe Full Gear even, but yeah, that's certainly a match that they're kind of using. This match kind of seems to a way to build sense between this match and the future. But yeah, the match is good between Fletcher and Okada. Thing about it is, so Kyle Fletcher is part of Don Callis family, but the crowd got behind Fletcher throughout this match, and Fletcher is another one of those guys like, well, in similar ways to Daniel Garcia, he's definitely a more known talent and more experienced talent than Garcia. Has a better name throughout the world, but he's in a place on the card, and you can kind of see with these opponents they're playing with. I mean, they put him with Ospreay, they put him with Omega, they put him with Danielson, they put him now with Okada. It's like clearly they're trying to get more shine Kyle Fletcher, and while Fletcher was adhering to the crowd numerous times in this match, Don Callis did not like that. So, thing to keep in mind as we go forward with Kyle Fletcher, Don Callis 7. Jamie Hayter, she had, first of all, it's great to see her back, after a year and a half being out. It's great to see her back. She had first she defeated Harley Cameron last week, and then last night she had a squash match with Robin Renegade. And Excalibur was telling that, Jamie Hayter is not going to stop, it seems, till she gets revenge on Saraya, or her hands on Saraya. So, this is definitely a match they're building towards. Again, just good to see Jamie Hayter back. She certainly helps the women's division very much for AEW, and you can tell the crowd loves her. It's a new look for Jamie Hayter to get used to with that, I'd say, redhead. But nonetheless, Jamie Hayter, great to see her back, and hopefully they just keep building her more wins to potentially fight Mariah May, and who knows, Australia? We'll see. Or Revolution. Roderick Strong. So, this was the haha or oh no moments of last week. So, again, I did not pay much attention towards that Conglomeration, Roger Strong, Hook, Learning Tree of Hair match, whatever. So the finish match came where Hook had the red rum on Roderick Strong, and Roderick Strong had his foot on the bottom rope, and Aubrey Edwards, quote, did not see it from her angle, and then right after she called for a bell, she walked over Roderick Strong's foot that was on the bottom rope. So that was the very silly part of last week. I'm glad I missed it because you see these clips on what happened during the match and okay, this makes more sense. So like AEW officials, sometimes they're like, really? Anyway, so there was a segment where Roderick Strong voicing his opinions, voiced what happened, and then Daniels was trying to defend Aubrey, saying, well, the referee didn't see it, this and that, and then Hook interjected, talking about, well, Roddy has a point, and offer up a FTW title shot for last night, but Roddy didn't take the bait, saying he'll call a shot, and I'll let him know. See, again, that's the thing about the FTW title. It just feels more and more like a crutch for Hook. Like, he should be moved past this. If it was an official title, they say, then I bet people would get it more. But the fact that it's an unofficial title and Hook is a 3-time champion now, and we're back to FTW title match for Hook. Oh well. I'm not saying Roddy vs. Hook is going to be an interesting match. I'm just saying that, you get it. Jon Moxley, Marina Shafir. So, last week, the big cliffhanger was Jon Moxley, telling Tony Schiavone and Tony Khan, this is not your company anymore. And then sided with Marina Shafir as they took out Schmucks in the back. They took out Schmucks in the back again, and then came across the Elite, and Jon Moxley told Jack Perry, he said, I don't care what anybody says, you're a good kid. So Moxley and Shafir came out to Moxley's Death Rider theme again from New Japan, which I will say, it's Very good. Very good. And I will definitely say this wasn't much of a build off of last week. Jon Moxley was in the ring, talked about, well, is Darby here in Milwaukee? Apparently not. Said, Darby, I just want to talk. I just want to talk. So it's like you wonder if there's going to be another member. What's Darby's involvement? That's the thing for Moxley, because Darby has a shot at the World Championship at Grand Slam on the 25th. How does Moxley play a part in Darby? Is he trying to recruit him? Are they going to feud? Again, what is the real meaning behind this? It's like people are speculating Shane McMahon. Is this going to open the door for Shane to come in to AEW? Well, I will say this segment was certainly less appealing than last week's was. But there was that. Learning Tree, Chris Jericho, Ryan Keith, Big Bill. Hi guys. So, Jericho talked about he's so upset about the $7,000 jacket that Orange Cassidy ruined those few years ago, back in the pandemic era of AEW. The Jacksonville Daily's Place era, where they were covered in orange juice, thanks to Orange Cassidy. And Jericho once again says how he's not forgotten. That's the annoying thing with backstage segments of pro wrestling. Not just in AEW, WWE does it as well. Orange Cassidy just came strolling in, and he didn't acknowledge Chris Jericho. He told Brian Keith, I'll make it easy. If you beat me on Friday, I'll give Jericho his $7,000 in cash. And again, didn't acknowledge Jericho and walked off. So there we go. Mariah May versus Nyla Rose. Match was fine, but Mariah May won a Sub-Zero, got the win. You know, I get that they're not going to have Mariah May in a thrown together match for All Out in Chicago. So I get why they did the match here. Nyla Rose, at one point in time, was one of the favorites in the women's division. Heck, a former women's world champion. You know, I think they were talking about the other day. She's close to, or she's over 100 wins in AEW. And she's trying to improve on that. Well, the problem is with Dynamite is your A show, and I think they said for Collision on Saturday that the ratings were like less than 300,000. Their lowest viewership. At one point in time, Collision was great. Appointment TV on Saturday, or at least you had to know what was going on Collision. Now it's just not. I mean, again, it's a bad day, bad time slot. I mean, Rampage. It is annoying how, they started Rampage and they started off hot, and for a while of time it was an appointment television. It's like, I believe the last Rampage I reviewed was Parker Bordeaux on that show. I mean, it's certainly been a while. Yep. And then Collision. It's like, I talk about it here and there, but there's not a lot that goes on Collision, which sucks. Deonna Purrazzo, she had a nice vignette. She was sipping wine, talked about wrestlers going phases, and talked about her bull rope match with Cheetah from a few weeks ago on Collision, or Thunder Rosa, which they had some great matches, I will say. Because those two are two of the best in the world. And took a sip of wine and slammed her glass on the table, saying she's not done making art. So it's like, okay, it's a solid video package for Deonna Purrazzo. Then next thing you know, she's being advertised for a match on Collision versus Kazuchika. And Kazuchika is going to face Mercedes at All Out for the TBS title. She is not going to lose. So it's like, it was a good video package, but yeah. Yeah, Mercedes Monet. Not much with this segment here. Christopher Daniels and Shido were on the big screen. Christopher Daniels banned Camille from ringside for their match on Saturday, so there you go. Shida, I will say, she is definitely one of the best international talent to speak English, certainly, or has improved. Early on, her English in AEW wasn't great, but now it's very good. So, can't appreciate about that. Because the thing is, in WWE and AEW, weekly television and wrestling, an emphasis is promos. And, it's hard for people to speak English. So it's like, I get that maybe a thing that holds some talent back, because sometimes you see international talent and they can speak just not in English, or they're just not a good promo. And unfortunately, that is kind of thing that holds people back at times. But it is interesting to note how good she is. English has improved the last few years. So in the end, she said sayonara bitch to Camille. So there you go. So then the main event was the trios match with the new trios champions PAC, Claudio, and Yuta versus Ospreay, Orange Cassidy, and Kyle O'Reilly. And this was alright. We got a preview of sorts between PAC and Ospreay for All Out, which should be a hell of a match. Afterwards, Ospreay got dumped on the production crates with a brainbuster by PAC, so he's not going to be 100% for All Out. Certainly something to note. Afterwards, the Elite tried to get the one-up on Bryan Danielson and the BCC to no avail. And Bryan said to Jack Perry, you're going to get your get your head he's going to kick his effing head in. There you go. But yeah, that was all, and then obviously the closing sequence with, Hangman and Swerve. Great, but in between wasn't much. But can't wait for All in Chicago on Saturday. So yeah, guys, Go Home Show wasn't great, but did do some stuff to progress for All Out. By the way, tag team title match, Young Bucks versus Claudio and Yuta. Should be another solid match, but add to All Out, but not much build. Really slapped together. So there you go. But yeah, guys, All Out should be a fun show. Looking forward to it. Especially the main event, steel cage match, Ospreay versus PAC, Garcia versus MJF. Lead the charge, certainly. But yeah, anyways, guys, thank you all for joining me. Subscribe if you guys haven't already. Leave a like, thumbs up if you guys like the video. I'll have a review up sometimes Sunday or Monday, depend, but I will have a review up for you guys. Anyways, thank you guys all. Be safe. See you guys soon. Peace.